I are here for two reasons: fellowship and fellowship. Fellowship is the easy part. It's all about showing up with a smile, supporting one another in our sorrows, and celebrating one another in our joys. We can find fellowship in a lot of places other than church: in our jobs, schools, recreational activities, hobbies, friends, and families. We can find fellowship in people and pets. Fellowship, on the other hand, is more difficult. It is the real reason we are here. It requires real effort. It requires us to take steps as if we are literally following a person or a path. As Christians, we are following both a person and a path. We are following the person of Christ and his path, the way, as the early church was called. The church was called the way because they were devoted to Jesus' teachings and way of life. It illustrated their belief in Jesus as a path to God and their commitment to living according to his example. As I read through the 3 readings for this morning, I detected a theme of fellowship. First, the reading from Deuteronomy, the writer tells us to follow our hearts. This is not a vague, do whatever it feels, do what feels good to you thing. The writer puts this in the Old Testament context of following the voice of the Lord, which for him meant interpreting and keeping the law of Moses. Although we are no longer bound by the law of Moses, we can appreciate the fact that the Israelites needed some letter of the law guidance. This was their training wheels as they prepared their spiritual descendants for the race of grace and faith. The good thing about following our hearts or following our conscience is that we don't have to go up to the sky or cross the sea to follow our hearts. As the writer of Deuteronomy says, it is something very, very near to us. We just need to follow where our heart takes us. So first, we remember we have to follow our hearts. Second, because our hearts can lead us astray from time to time, we need to ask follow-up questions. Notice that the scholar in the gospel lesson this morning, who no one doubt believes he is following his conscience, his interpretation of the law asks Jesus a question. Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus confirms what the scholar already knows. Follow your heart to God. The scholar does show off his knowledge of the law of Moses. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. This is an answer that proves he is well on his way to fellowship. But he knows deep down in his heart that his heart isn't exactly in the right place. So he tries to justify his shortcomings by asking a follow-up question. And who is my neighbor? Hoping that Jesus would be as prejudiced as he is and say, your fellow Jews. Instead, Jesus shares with him the parable of the Good Samaritan, implying that even our enemies are folks we are called to love. For the scholar, fellowship just got harder. So, hearts and ask follow-up questions. The final step in all this is follow Christ. This is not a throwaway feel-good comment. Following a person doesn't sound all that difficult until one considers who that person is. According to the writer of Colossians, the person we are called to follow with our hearts and our follow-up questions is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation, the one in whom all things were created. Everything was created for him, and in him all things hold together. He is the head of the body, the church, the beginning, and the firstborn from the dead. In him all the fullness of the universe dwells. It is through this man that reconciliation and peace was born on a bloody cross. And we are called to follow him, as impossible as this sounds. Fellowship is not for the faint of heart, but it does mean we are to follow our hearts, ask follow-up questions, and follow the one who laid out a path of peace and reconciliation. And if we do all that, our fellowship will be a cakewalk.